Hey y'all, my name is Luke. I've been making bags from old sails and kites for almost 20 years now, which is kind of insane, but in that same time I've learned to sail, surf, kite, snowboard, and most recently foil, and that is my absolute favorite thing to do now. And parawinging is a very quickly growing segment of the foiling. This is what's called a parawing. It's basically like a handheld parachute with a bridle and a handle on it. So you use it to get up out of the water, get up onto foil. And then the idea is once you get up onto foil, you put it away in this belt and then you're hands-free surfing. The idea here is to have a stash belt, a harness that you can swivel around the front of your body, stuff your parawing in there, clip it in, and then swivel it back around, and then you're hands-free. And the idea here also was to have a place to stash your phone, your snacks, and then also have it not be too bouncy. So this is what I came up with together with the guys at Slingshot. So I'm going to be offering this on my website as a customizable option. And I'll go through the list of customization options in a minute, but if you do want the Slingshot version with the kites and stuff that they've given me, the Alula and stuff like that, you'll have to wait a little bit for that to go out on the Slingshot site. But if you want to go ahead and get one of these from me, the options are going to be exterior fabric. So on this one I did the blue Cuban fiber. The color of the Ultra Stretch, I'm going to have a few different color options there. Color of the mesh drainage panel, I'm going to get that in black, so I just made this one in orange because it's what I had at the moment. Your leash attachment style, so this one I made for the new Ride Engine Reel leash, so this is a retractable leash system. And also for your waist length, so basically that'll just change the length of this panel here as well as the webbing length. And that's about it really in terms of options. If there is a buckle that you think I should use, please link that in the comments below or something. I prefer just the step-in thing because I'm sure it's never going to come out because it's so strong. And again, this webbing loop just goes all the way around, including the back. So it's very strong. It's not going to break on you. The Ultra Stretch is super durable. You can fit 2.5 and a 3.5 in the standard stretch configuration. But if you want a pouch that has more capacity, I can do more Ultra Stretch material. So that will allow you to stash like a 6 meter and maybe another one in here. You know, like it's more space, but the compromise is it's going to be more bouncy when you're pumping just because it's not as cinched in. Now I'll show you all the pieces that go into making it, some of the process of making it, and then do a little debrief at the end with how I bolted this Ride Engine leash on here. So here we go. All right, so here are all the parts that I need to make a Parawing Stash Belt. We've got our closed cell foam with our ETC fabric on the back. This is the same stuff I use on the inside of the backpack straps. It's really abrasion resistant, but it's still smooth, so you can swivel the belt around. Closed cell foam won't absorb moisture, sweat, water, or anything. This is the Hypalon panel and the two little pieces of plastic that I use on the back side of the magnetic cinch buckle, which used here instead of the fidlock because there are fewer places for bridle lines to get caught up on, but it's still a magnet buckle, so it's easy to do one-handed operation. And like I was saying, this Hypalon and this plastic is to attach to this piece of webbing on the back side so that it keeps the strap and the buckle out of the way when you're trying to stash your belt. Hypalon panel here for the other side of the buckle, and this is like the center panel that'll get sewn onto the stretch here so that when you do want to cinch it in, it'll kind of like suck everything up. We still want as much stretch as possible, but we want to be able to cinch everything down so that when you're pumping, it's not jostling around on you. So this is for that. This is the 2-inch webbing that goes all the way around the belt and your waist. Here is a 2-inch ladder lock or a 50 mil ladder lock. Here is the mesh drainage panel, and on this one I punch holes so that we can mount this Ride Engine leash. So this is a new product from Ride Engine, who are kind of a sister brand with Slingshot, and it's a retractable leash. So when you fall off your board, you bail, this will go all the way out, and it comes supplied with everything you need to do that. There's a little Torx driver in here. There's some longer bolts with some washers. So stoked to do that once I make this belt. And then the Ride Engine hook harness here. This is also made for 50 mil or 2-inch webbing so that it can be adjusted side to side. And then over here we've got all the exterior panel pieces the interior zippered pocket with a marine grade zipper there. And then these are two kite knife pockets, so one on each side with a piece of Velcro in there, and then stretch fabric to cover that up. And then just some attachment points or grab handles on the sides, and with some spare pieces of kite line, some Dyneema kite line for attachment points. And for this one, I'm going to be using a blue Cuban fiber. So this is basically Dyneema, but it's, you know, really thin, really strong. And I like this blue color, so I decided, you know what, for this video, I'm going to use the blue Cuban fiber, but the material options for this belt are as wide as all the crazy fabrics that I have here in the shop. So let's get all this stuff to the sewing machines and start putting stuff together. Let's get the reel leash attached here. So what comes in the reel leash kit is a little Torx driver, some bolts, and some washers. So what we can do is go ahead and take out the bolts that are in there now, that are probably going to be a little bit shorter, I'm guessing. And so I've got the back mounted on there now. I'm going to go ahead and get the faceplate back on, and then just continue tightening. It's definitely a longer bolt type of situation here, and now I'm gonna get the other two in. But that's what it looks like on the inside. You could just like flip it like this once you get the first threads going there, but that's what it looks like on the inside. So this vinyl coated mesh is not the strongest fabric, but the Hypalon on the backside is super strong. Probably the fail point is gonna be these bolts themselves. So there's what it looks like. Okay, so there we go. We got that attached, and when you buy the reel leash, it comes with this little dual stage shock system, and the V strap, and some 25 mil, some 30 mil, some 28 mil M3 bolts, and then just a little instruction guide. So that works pretty well. I mean, I designed the thing with just kind of the specs of them, and this is the first time actually mounting it. I think it looks pretty sweet, and it'll still drain. And then one thing I forgot to mention when I was showing you guys the parts to make this is this little piece of silicone coated stretch webbing that I got from True Gear, which are buddies of mine. These are from their warranted bibs. So, you know, really good quality stretch stuff, but it's got this sticky silicone on there so that you can thread the longer end of the harness in, and it'll keep it there. And then it gives you a little bit of stickiness when you're hooked in and riding upwind. Not too much, because you still need to be able to swivel it around from back to front. And then also the ride engine hook here goes right through there, and then I'm just going to thread it through the ladder lock here. And I'm going to make these straps long enough so that folks can cut them with a hot knife or just cut them with scissors and then use a lighter to melt the end. But there we go. There's a fully assembled Parawing Stash Belt with the ride engine reel leash mounted option. And let's see if we can fit both of these Parawings. Right here I got a 3.5. So let's see if I can do the one-handed buckle operation. Yep. Stuff this guy in there. And I mean, with Parawing Stash Belts, obviously there's going to be compromises. Do you want more space, or do you want it to jostle around less? And for this one, for this particular Parawing belt, I'm going with the jostling less. But one of the options that will be available, in addition to whatever material you want the belt made from, is how much stretch fabric you want. So you could fit like a 6-meter Parawing in there, no problem. So that's just with the 3.5. Let's see if we can also get a 2.5 in there, so we can have a little bit of a quiver going on here. All right, so there we go. We can fit 2 Parawings, a 3.5 and a 2.5. And one of the concerns from the Discord group was about shore break paddle outs. People have lost Parawings before. I did try one prototype that had like an interior lip or panel. I don't know what the right word for it is, but it had a shock cord absorber on there, a shock cord adjustability thing, so you could tighten it up. And it would just get caught on the bridle lines, is what the testers at Slingshot were saying. So I ended up just moving this attachment point further in and putting more shock cord tension around this opening. And then obviously when you have this buckle fully tightened up, it should stay on. I mean, you know, I'm still pretty new to parawinging, and I've only been out on the river, so I don't have any experience with shore break paddle outs, but this should be pretty good. I don't think people will be losing parawings, especially if you have the handle in this compartment. You don't have the handle sticking out. You have this tightened all the way down, and it should be pretty good. And the bounce is still going to be there because, you know, that's how it is, but it's definitely going to be minimized. And this ultra stretch fabric comes in a couple different colors, so that'll be an option as well. And it's super durable. It's got UHMWPE fibers in there, so very, very durable. Not quite as stretchy as something like a Lycra, but it'll last a lot longer. So again, we got our little Velcro dots in here for a kite knife to stay attached. And then we got our grab little loops here, and then our mesh drainage panel with the reel leash attached on there. So again, this particular one is oriented with the blue Cuban fiber fabric. Yes, on the internal pocket for your phone or your snacks. So yeah, that's the Parawing Stash Belt. I'm stoked on how it came out, especially with this cool new leash system. Can't wait to actually try that, get some sessions in. So thanks so much for watching, and please let me know in the comments if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions. And I'm really stoked to be adding this to the website.